Yeah, next week we'll look at linebackers, secondary, and specialists.
There you go.
Okay. So this week is the trench warfare. We're looking at offensive, defensive lines. So we'll kick it off with our offensive tackles.
All right.
I have our 4 main offensive tackles, and then I have our bubble guys, which really are probably more of the practice squad guys. So we have Deon Dawkins. So I looked at Jack comes in and asks, is Bates starting? I believe he is slotted. I mean, obviously, it's all about competition and preseason and training camp. But I think going in, he's the incumbent. When we look at Deon Dawkins, 2021, he had 1,089 snaps. He had 9 penalties, 4 sacks, allowed 6 QB hits, and 25 total pressures, which is actually better than his 2020 stats. His pressures went down by 8. He did allow 2 more QB hits, but you have to remember he had COVID early in the year, so he got stronger as the season went. But he allowed 2 less sacks last year than he did, but in playing more snaps. So, seeing Deon Dawkins step up and make the Pro Bowl, have a Pro Bowl season, those type of things, it was nice. He's our starting left tackle. He's our franchise left tackle.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Yes, and I agree, Mike. The trenches are the backbone. You don't win if you lose the trenches.
100%.
Defense.
100%. 100%.
Yep.
I don't care who you got back there. If you got a crappy offensive line, that quarterback is going to have no time. And like I said, once again, doesn't matter who you got back there if they are getting rid of the ball in like 2 seconds because the defense is on them.
Look at the Jacksonville game. The offensive line played like crap, and Josh was getting smashed.
You saw how that worked, right? And then all they did was just blitz,
mm-hmm.
and Josh was running for his life, making bad decisions because he had no other choice.
Yeah.
But yeah, you got to protect. Same with the defensive line too, by the way. But go ahead.
Yeah. So on the right side, we have Spencer Brown, who's our incumbent right tackle. Last year he played 726 snaps. He missed the first 3 games, right? Missed the first 3 games of the year, I think.
I believe so.
3 or 4.
Like a back thing.
No, he wasn't starting the first 3 or 4.
I know, but then he had like a back. I know.
Yeah, I think he missed 4 games last year.
All right.
So he had 726 snaps. He had 8 penalties, allowed only 1 sack, 5 QB hits, and 30 total pressures. So he actually allowed more pressures. He had an up and down year last year.
He did, but that
saw the
third round. Yeah,
you saw the flashes of that dominant right tackle that he can be, which is awesome. Then one of our new guys, we have David Questonberry comes over. He was a starting right tackle for the Titans last year. He played 1,184 snaps. He only had 2 penalties. He allowed 11 sacks, but let's be honest, Tannehill's kind of a statue back there, and they had no run game. They had no Derrick Henry, so they were.
No, he's solid. I like him. That was a very good that was a under the radar kind of pickup, I think, for this team because he could potentially start. He could potentially start at right guard. I could be wrong, but Ryan Bates has to earn that. And this guy's been doing it for a while. I think Bates will still ultimately win that job, but it's still good to have this guy.
Questonberry played right tackles. These were all tackles.
But he could switch over to guard as well.
Yeah.
Or he also could take Spencer. Spencer Brown could also, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's up to debate him going at right guard right now. I know he's at tackle, but he can go Questonberry, but he can go to right guard as well.
Yeah, we have and we'll get into the guards. We have a deep class of guards this year, and we'll get into it. I have a feeling Questonberry is going to be our swing tackle.
I do too. I do too. I think I believe that. I think Ryan Bates will get that right guard spot. I don't think
Questonberry's even in the hunt for the right guard starting position. I think they brought him in to be the right tackle, and because we have a lot of interior guards that are vying for that spot.
My buddy Curtis from Ace Burhead, he believes that he has an opportunity to go to right guard. With Bates not having like a lot of history behind, more of a journeyman up until he got here. in a way, like just not around a long time. But I don't know. We'll see. I agree with you. I think he's more of a swing tackle, and I think Brian Bates will get that job.
Yeah, and we'll get into the whole guards centers next. But then we have Tommy Doyle, who only played 65 snaps, most of them at tight end. Had one penalty, one sack allowed. I think he had eight snaps at tackle only, and the rest of them were at tight end.
I agree.
So he had one penalty, one sack, one total pressure. And then when we look over at the bubble guys, we have like the people like Bobby Hart, Luke Tenuta, Alec Anderson.
Tenuta, he won't make the team.
Alec Anderson, the rookie UDFA out of UCLA. Derek Kersetter, the rookie UDFA out of Texas. And then Tanner Owen, the rookie UDFA out of Northwest Missouri State. So we got a bunch of young UDFAs. And then Bobby Hart.
What do you think about this? What do you think about this question, real quick, Carl? I already answered that like 3 weeks ago, but
not going to happen. Not going to happen.
I think it's very possible, Carl. This is the first time, and I'm normally not like this, where I homerish prediction that we're winning it all. But looking at the schedule, this is the first time I can truthfully say there isn't a game there I see that the Bills can't win. So I'm going to be optimistic and say, sure, why not? New England came very close, by the way. Probably should have gone right 19-0 at the time because there was no extra game or whatever. But they should have beat the Patriots, right? Like they were the better
Giants,
team.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, the Giants. They should have beat the Giants.
Eli just hadn't had Brady's number.
It was just one of those things. But look how close that was. So why not? Like, will it happen? I mean, the chances are it's tough. This is the NFL. You can lose any given Sunday, right? That's what they say. But I don't know. I'm going to say we're going undefeated because right now that's what I'm picking, which is the first time ever. So yeah, Carl, yeah, I think it can.
I don't see it. Not that I wouldn't love it, and I hope we do, and I hope I'm wrong, and I'll eat it if I'm wrong. But yeah, I don't see us going undefeated. Yeah. So for the roster bubbles, Daniel Garza comes in and says Tenuta is a practice squad contender. I think so. I think Tenuta is going to be practice squad, and I think one of the other three UDFAs is going to be fighting Bobby Hart for a practice squad.
I don't think Tenuta, man. I know they draft. I know he's. I think Daniel coming in and saying practice squad. I mean, maybe. I guess practice squad. Sure. Yeah. I mean, they did draft him, right?
Yep.
But his chances of being called up this year are like slim to none, in my opinion. He has a lot of, for a big guy. I know your first thought is, oh my God, he's Spencer Brownish. He has these long arms, and he actually has very short arms for T-Rex his size. Yeah, he's a T-Rex guy, which is not generally good for that position. But maybe they can work with him, and maybe in the practice squad, if that's what they do, which he probably will make it. Maybe they can find a way for him, and maybe he improves. I don't know, but right now
he's
not coming up. I can tell you right now.
No, he like we said, it's just a practice squad guy. He's stashed much like Anderson was last year before he was plucked off our practice squad. It's a late round guy we drafted. He'll be on the practice squad, and he'll probably be either Bobby Hart or, unless they like one of the other three UDFAs. But we'll have 2 tackles on practice squad. We'll have these 4 tackles in our rotation.
Yeah.
Doyle, I have a feeling is going to be. I know he's being tried out at guard as well.
He is,
but that's what Aaron Cromer does. He wants all the guys on the offensive line be able to move around.
Correct. So the Doyle
I see him more of a tight is the big tight end than I do actually playing on the line this year.
Yeah, but out of camp early. Now, mind you, Mikey, there's no pads, no nothing right now.
Yeah.
Right. Like, so we can't. Let's not get too hype about like
it's all technique right now.
Right. Who's playing reports out of camp, because I heard that a million times. But I mean, the early reports is they were playing him at the left guard because Saffold wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
Reporting to OTAs at the time, and he was actually looking pretty well. But once again, no pads are on. Let's wait and see when pads come on. But I know they say Cromer he loves doing this. He wants to see what, certain players can do at certain positions. And they're probably just testing the waters out, what he can do, because you never know.
Well, what he does is Cromer believes in teaching. So if a tackle goes in and plays guard, he understands what that guard is doing on that play. So when he moves back out to tackle, he understands what the guy next to him is supposed to be doing and the technique he's supposed to be using to help him understand how he plays off of that guy. So he's a technician by trade, Cromer. That's what we love about bringing him back, and everyone who plays for him loves him because like he's a teacher, and it's not just my starters. I'm teaching down to the last guy on the roster.
Yep.
So,
yeah, man, and that's a great addition, by the way, is Cromer to this offensive line. So not only did we get the veterans and Saffold and Questonberry, but we got one of the best OL coaches, to help these younger guys out as well, with the vets coming in. So, even though these are 1-year deals, it still works out for us because they're helping the younger guys out, the guys that, like you said, the guys that draft picks. Mm-hmm. And next year, I think we will draft a little heavier at the offensive line since a lot of these guys are one and dones.
Yeah. Well, if you think about it, if you look here, Dawkins, Brown, and Doyle are all guys who have contracts next year or for the next couple years.
Right, exactly.
Yep. Tenuta and then a couple other guys who were UDFA, so they have contracts too.
Yeah.
But I from a tackle standpoint, I think the plan is to have Questonberry as the swing tackle this year. Use Doyle as the backup swing tackle and big tight end like they did last year. And then hopefully Doyle will grow this year into the swing tackle next year.
Yeah, I agree. And Doyle, like I said, Doyle's looking good so far out of camp, though I want to see it on the field.
Technician. It's all technique right now. His technique, good. We'll see what he does once packs come on.
Yep.
Okay. So of your setup, Tommy, how do you see it playing out with these guys, and then who do you see going to the practice squad?
That's a tough one, man. I think all these. I don't think any of these guys. Obviously not Dawkins. Obviously not Brown. I think Questonberry makes it. I don't think he goes. I don't think he goes to the practice squad. I think Doyle. I think they would be nervous to sending him to practice squad if somebody picks him up. So I don't even think he would go to the practice squad. That's where I have it right there. I think obviously Bobby Hart, Tenuta, all those are practice squad guys. I don't think Bobby Hart makes a team. I think he gets cut again, and who knows? And maybe they pick him up later in the year like they did last year. But Tenuta, to your point, he's a draft pick. They'll probably keep him around. The other guys, I honestly don't know much about, so I'm not going to really comment. They could be cut candidates, but that's where I'm looking at right now. For this lineup or for the breakdown.
My guess is ultimately we'll have these 4 guys on the 53, and then I have a feeling Tenuta and I have a Alec Anderson. I have a feeling is going to turn some heads out of UCLA, and he's going to be a guy that they want to keep on the 53, or not on the 53, but on the practice squad.
Right. Carl coming in real quick with a question.
Yeah.
Says, will Josh Allen have a better connection with Ken Dorsey than he did with Brian Dabel? After all, Ken is Josh's pick for OC. He fought for him, and this may be more dynamic offense than it was. I'll let you answer that question because you know what mine's going to be.
Do I think he's going to have a better connection? No. I think his connection with Brian Dabel was extremely close. Do I think the offense will be better with Dorsey over Dabel? Yes. I didn't understand some of Dabel's schemes and game plans to where Dorsey now has Cromer, who is a run game coordinator, former offensive coordinator, has Mike Shula in the room, former offensive coordinator, has Joe Brady as the quarterback coach, former offensive coordinator. So there's going to be more ideas in that room. It's not just going to be, I know Dorsey was the passing game coordinator last year, but I have a feeling that the connection, like play calls, might be better than it was with Dabel. Because Dabel got stuck in his ways. Let's be honest. He got very bullheaded about. There was times we didn't run the ball, but like one time in the half. That won't happen with this new coaching staff.
No, will not happen.
So do I think the offense will be better under Dorsey? Yes, I do. I love the new coaches we brought in. It brought in more experience and new philosophies and ideas, which is going to help our offense grow. Under Dabel, it was the same thing for 3 years. We didn't really see it evolve. It will evolve this year.
As far as better connection, I'll tell you what. Dabel got here, I believe, in 2018. I want to say, Josh's rookie year, and Dorsey got there in 2019. So that it's not like Dorsey got there in 2021, right? So who knows? Like behind the door, we maybe Dorsey and Allen really did have a better connection. We just don't know. But Allen did preach for him to be the OC.
Yeah.
And right. So it wasn't like he was like, hey, it's up to the coaches. I'm staying out of it. Like he came forward and said, I would really prefer Dorsey. So I truly believe he understands that when Dorsey came into 2019, he made him better. He worked with Josh. And who was closer to Josh than your quarterback coach, right? Like working with him every day. I know Dabel was as well, but I think Dorsey and Allen probably had maybe a little bit more connection than we think because of the quarterback thing, right? He's a former quarterback. He understands Josh. Josh probably understands him a little bit more. He worked with them probably a little bit extra. So I don't know. That is, I don't know. I'll be honest with you. But I do think, to Mike's point, the offense, I think, is going to be ran much smoother, much better. You're going to see the running attack a lot cleaner than it was in the past. Now that we got Cromer, now that we got Joe Brady, now that we got Mike Shula, I think those guys are going to, get this line going to protect Josh a little bit better, to open those holes up for the running backs. And listen, Ken Dorsey is a bright dude. So if you guys think that like, we're going to lose like the magic touch on the offense all of a sudden because Dabel was his genius, Dorsey's a very smart guy too, and he's going to light it up as well on offense. So I think the offense will improve, and you're going to see it. You would definitely see it.
I'm with you on that. How you doing, Scott? Welcome
what
to the
up,
show.
Scott?
Thanks for joining us. Okay, so let's dig into the guards and the interior offensive line. This is where we really had a lot of problems last year. So we brought in Roger Saffold. Last year, he had 853 snaps. He had 5 penalties, 2 sacks allowed, 7 hits, and 26 pressures. He plays about the same amount. He has a shoulder injury that seems to pop up every year. But we have a lot of depth this year, so it's okay.
Yeah.
In 2020, he had 872 with 4 penalties, 4 sacks allowed, 5 QB hits, and 18 pressures. So he actually allowed less sacks last year, but more pressures. But they also threw the ball a little bit more once Derrick Henry got hurt last year, so you're going to see the pressures go up.
Thing about Saffold, though, real quick, even though he gets hurt, he tends to come back. Yeah, he tends to come back right away. So he's like one of those, just like Iron Man, tough guy. Like he's a tough dude. He is a tough guy. So I wouldn't don't stress the whole injury history, guys. He's gonna probably play hurt in some games. It's just the way his career is shaped out. But he's always there. So I'm good with that. Just play, do your job, and I'm good because when he does his job, he's one of the best on the field to do it. So. Go ahead, Mikey.
Yeah. Sorry, I was reading Scott's comments.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, I'll put it up.
Scott comes in and says, he's figured it out. 4,000 yards, 40 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 114 passer rated. He's going to be the league MVP, Super Bowl MVP, and we're going to go 20-0. I'll tell you. 4
interceptions is really low.
If he only throws for 4,000 yards, I'll be a little concerned. If he wins the MVP with 4,000 yards.
I agree with Mikey in that. I mean, the interceptions is awesome if you keep down to 4, but that's really tough. I think I'm going more towards what Jack said earlier about the 5,000.
Yeah.
Listen, it's very possible. Me and Mikey talked about this, I think, 2 weeks ago. My buddy Curtis put out a thing about the yards after catch. He was one of the, I think, 17th ranked.
Yep.
If he was even in the top 5, I think he said something like that. He would have had over 5,000 yards.
If he was in top 10.
He would have over 5,000 yards passing. So that's last year. So I think with the additions that we got with Crowder, who's I believe a better yards after catch, and I think getting McKenzie more involved and stuff like that, and Diggs, I think he can get in that top 10 range. I think. Oh, and the addition of Cook, The addition of the offensive line with screen passes as well will help that yards after catch. And it's very possible. I think he does, Mikey, in my opinion. I think he gets the 5,000. The interceptions, listen, 4, that's really tough. I'm going to go around like the 8 to 10 range. And that's not bad because, sometimes Josh, he will do a bonehead play here and there because he's trying to make something happen. So 8 to 10, listen, guys, that's not bad. That's not bad at all. I'll take it all day. Go ahead.
Jason, I love that. Double the weapons, double the yardage.
Yeah,
I love that.
You said 9,000 yards.
Jason, this is 9,000 yards. I will tell you, another thing that we'll see this year, because if you go back and you watch Stefon Diggs last year, Stefon Diggs ran stops and goes like over and over and over. They didn't run him on yak type of routes. I bet you that changes this year. You're going to see him running more of the slants and the crossers and those type of things to give him the option for yards after the catch. If he just runs a 5-yard stop, he has to do amazing things to be able to get yards after the catch on that.
Yep.
Go back to look at what Diggs did in Minnesota. He ran a lot of those crossers and deep things where he can get the yards after the catch, and he was great at it. We just didn't put him in position to do that last year. I don't think the offense put the receivers in position to do that last year.
Yeah, no.
So we'll see a little bit of difference this year, which I'll like.
I believe.
Okay, so moving on, we have Rick Bates back. I think he's going to be our right tackle this year.
Yeah.
In 2021.
Right tackle.
Yeah. No, I mean right guard.
Right guard. Okay.
Yeah, he's gonna be right guard. He went from left guard last year. Yeah. He'll probably play right guard this year.
Yeah, they ain't putting what's his name out of the guard position.
Yeah,
they're going to keep Roger at left.
Yeah, Saffold. That's where he plays the best is left, so he'll be there. Bates had 294 snaps last year. I think it was like 5 games or 6 games or something like that. He had 1 sack allowed, 0 hits, or 0 sacks allowed, 3 hits allowed, and 3 total pressures. So in 5 or 6 games, he only gave up 3 pressures. That's crazy when you think about it.
Yeah, I know.
He had 1 penalty. And in 2020, he had 82 snaps. This is what goes back to what we talked about, Tommy. We didn't understand why he never got in. He had 82 snaps. He had 1 penalty, 0 sacks, 0 hits, 0 pressures. We brought in Doyle last year for 8 plays, and he gave up a sack and 3 pressures.
Yeah, I don't think Bocker was much better either, to be honest with you.
Bocker actually did, his numbers aren't that bad.
No, I didn't say. Yeah, he wasn't terrible, but Bates would have been the better choice, right?
I agree. I would think
we were yelling for that. By the way, you want to answer this real quick? Carl coming in with another.
Says it doesn't seem that he can get 4.9 yards to carry. Last year we had a terrible offensive line, and he looked so much better once Ryan Bates solidified the line. Can he run for 1,000 yards? Absolutely, he's gonna run for 1,000 yards.
Yep.
We're gonna have because he was over 1,000 all-purpose yards last year. He's going to run for over 1,000 yards, but we're going to have 2 backs that have over 1,000 all-purpose yards this year.
With minimal usage, because if you look at his carries, they're really low compared to most starting running backs in the league.
Yeah.
I think he's like one of the fewest actually. Like he's really below as far as average carries.
I think he had less than 200 last year.
Oh carries. Yeah, he did. Yeah, like 145, 148, something
I think he was like in the hires. I think he was like
you gotta look. You gotta look. I'm curious. I know he didn't have many.
But when we finish this, I'll go back and look.
Yeah. Either way, yes. I think they started to use him more once Bates got in that game. And then you kind of saw like Josh trusting him more, and Dabel kind of starting to trust the offensive line to do their job more and run blocking. And that's why you saw the carries go, much higher for Devin Singletary. I would say the last 6 games of the season, last 5 games.
The second Ryan Bates got inserted in the offensive line, it changed everything.
So I think on a contract year, you got to take that in consideration as well, guys. Contract year, offensive line better, different play caller. They're going to try to definitely get the running game going this year.
New running game coordinator.
Yeah, I definitely think he goes over 1,000 yards. I'm going to say he goes around. I'm going to say close to 1,200 yards. I'm going to go out on a wing and say close to 1,200, which is not impossible. And I think he'll have about 300 passing yards. I still don't think that'll be higher. I think James Cook might have that a little bit above him because that's what James Cook was drafted for, really. And I think that'll be his role this year. But I think around 1,200, around that range. I would say anywhere between 1,100 and 1,200 yards is where I think Devin Singletary will get, which will be a great year for him. Mm-hmm. And somebody will sign him if he does not sign back with Buffalo.
Yeah, I do agree. I think Singletary will have about 1,100 yards and probably about 200 receiving yards. So he'll end up with about 1,300 total yards. I think Cook will end up about probably 400 yards rushing and about between 500 and 600 yards receiving. So I think he's going to be close to cracking the 1,000-yard all-purpose yards as well. So I can see both of our backs going over 1K all-purpose this year,
which is really unbelievable. That's really good.
Yeah. So then we'll dig into Mitch Morris, who's solidified as our center. We gave him an extension this offseason. He had a great year, really. He actually had a better year than Dawkins did, and Dawkins made the Pro Bowl. He had 1,167 snaps, 5 penalties, 2 sacks allowed, 2 QB hits allowed, and only 25 pressures.
Yeah.
So you look at Saffold. Saffold was a Pro Bowler with less snaps, more pressures, more hits allowed, same amount of sacks, and same amount of penalties with less snaps.
Yeah.
Like Morris is underrated now.
He is. Yeah. He's clear. The concussion thing is kind of almost seems like a little behind him now, I'm hoping. That was worrying me for quite a bit, to be honest with you. And that's why I thought he was maybe leaning towards retirement when all those were kind of piling up on him when we first got him. But it's kind of been not too much. I don't think he had any last year. I could be wrong. He didn't. Right. He's been healthy.
He was all 17 games plus playoffs last year.
There you go. Yeah. And he's an excellent pin and pull blocker. One of the best in the league, actually. So no, he's been good, but I still think we need to address the center position eventually in the draft because he is getting older.
I told you, I think Bates is going to be the future center. I think we're going to,
you may not be wrong there, Mikey. You may not be wrong.
I do believe Bates is the future center. He's going to play guard until Morse is done, and then he's going to slide into the pivot, and we're going to draft us another guard. It's easier to draft guards than it is centers.
Yeah, you may not be wrong. Like I said.
Yep. I think we were planning on having Bates be the center before we re-signed Mitch Morris, and that's why we didn't play him at guard earlier. Is because he was our backup center. But it'll be interesting to see how this plays out.
I mean, I get that, but it was just at that time were really I don't know what they were doing.
We were screaming for him. We were screaming for him. So and then we go to everyone's hated offensive lineman, Cody Ford.
He's up there.
He had 485 snaps last year. He had 2 penalties, 2 sacks allowed, 4 hits, and he had 26 pressures. But of those 26 pressures, 11 was in one game. So he didn't have the horrible year everyone thought. He had a bad game against Washington and that really good D-line. Yeah. And that after that, he kind of got relegated to the bench. But up to that point, he wasn't playing horribly. But he had a bad game against the Commanders.
I mean, listen, Mikey, this will be it. Like if Cromer can't get Cody Ford, better, improve, then
it's a then we got for Ford too.
Yeah. But then we know it is what it is, right, guys? Yeah. Like after
it wasn't coaching, it was truly the player. Because at some point, you got to put the onus back on the player. I personally I don't think Bobby Johnson was good.
No, I don't.
He was an assistant offensive line coach who got his first shot as at the head gig with the Bills, and I don't think he did well. Personally,
no, I agree with you. I think the Giants are gonna see that. Giant fans, how this guy just. Like I said, I thought the name was cool. Other than that,
he's got a lot of young guys on the offensive line with the Giants.
Yeah,
that just aren't going to get.
I mean, if you really think about it, when he came, who did he honestly improve? Like guys that we drafted that you're like, all right, Like you got this guy like looking really good, or he helped this guy out, or a guy like he didn't. I don't think he did anyone. Like
Bates and Brown are the two that stand out the most. But if you think about it, really, I put it on Bobby Johnson for the whole Wyatt Teller thing.
Oh, that was terrible.
Like,
and Brandon Bean kind of basically said that, right?
Yeah,
like
I know that's what he said. He's like, I listened to my guys, and they told me he wasn't gonna pan out.
Name, but he said guys, which there's only two guys in charge, and they're both not on the team. So and he's never gonna do that again because he knows better. Like he's not trusting that again. Like he's gonna do his own homework, and he'll live with that decision. I
think it goes back to the O-line coach. But anyways, Cody Ford, has been a bust at this point as a second-round pick.
Yeah.
Was it all Cody Ford's fault? No. They moved him around a bunch, never let him get settled. Then he had injuries, and he's been battling injuries the whole time he's been here. This is the first offseason he hasn't been rehabbing an injury, so he actually got to train. So we'll see what we get out of Cody Ford, if anything, in 2022. Then we had Ike Bocker. Bocker was a average starter for us. Honestly, he was better than Ford. He filled in. I would much rather saw Bates earlier, but Bocker held his own for the most part.
Better than Mongo too.
Yeah, he took
Mongo's
job. Yeah, right. 636 snaps. He had 2 penalties, 1 sack, 1 hit, and 17 total pressures in about 10 games. Ultimately, Bocker did okay. He did his job. Granted, when we talk about pressures, Josh Allen made a lot of these numbers look better because his ability to move and get out of the pocket to where guys got beat and they didn't get a pressure against them because Josh Allen was already gone. Let's call it what it is, And then we have Greg Mance, who's on the bubble. In 2021, he had 185 snaps, no penalties, 1 sack, 5 pressures. Then our new signee, Greg Van Roten. He played for the Jets. He started between 10 and 13 games a year. 700 snaps last year, 2 penalties, 3 sacks allowed, 1 hit, 37 pressures. He is a average O lineman, great depth lineman.
Yep, that's all he is.
When I look here, I truly believe these 4 guys on the left will all be on the 53. I think Ike Bocker will end up on the PUP list because he's coming back from the Achilles, which I think the battle becomes between Mance and Van Roten for a depth job.
Mm-hmm. You want to answer that question?
What was the question?
Right here.
Couldn't Ferguson fill in as center knowing he's a long snapper? No, he's actually more of a tight end than he is a lineman.
Right. He's not very right.
He's not a big guy.
Big.
He's not a very big guy. He's just like his brother, who actually considered tight ends than and longs than actual if they have to put him somewhere. But he's just a long snapper. So yeah, I foresee them. So that gives us what we had 4 tackles, and we have 5 guards, centers, interior O linemen. So I see us carrying 9.
Bocker's going to go on the PUP
so
list.
We'll have
right away.
Saffold, Bates, Morris, and Ford will all be on the 53. So then it comes down to, does Mance win the backup job, or does Van Roten win it?
That's a good question.
As the 9th guy.
That's gonna be a training camp and preseason battle, really, because I think they're both kind of evenly matched in a way.
Van Roten has more experience.
He does, and
Mance
McDermott likes that.
Yeah, but Mance can play center.
I agree, but we'll see. I have no idea. That's a tough one. They're going to be duking it out, man. Because once again, only so many players can make this.
Listen, we only have really 1 spot available on the O line because Cody Ford's going to make the team. He's a draft pick.
They're not done
draft
yet.
Pick. They brought in a new thing. Like Bean still talks him up. He's super talented, just hasn't put it together yet. So I see 1 spot on the O line, and it comes down to Mance or Van Roten. And then obviously we have Jacob Capra, who was on the practice squad last year, who will probably be on the practice squad again this year.
Right.
Don't know much about him.
Yeah, neither do I. He's on there for a reason, though.
Yep. So who do you see?
Saffold, obviously. Ryan Bates obviously makes this. Mitch Morris obviously makes this. Cody Ford, to your point, he's a second round pick that we actually traded up to get. They are not going to give up on him yet, especially as being his last season anyways. Ike Bocker is going to be on the pup list, like I said.
Yep.
And then it's going to come down to Graham Mentz and Van Rotten, who we just got. Listen.
If we get to the 9th guy, we're in trouble anyways. So,
yeah, I still think that there's going to be a player or two that we wind up trading for something. Okay. I don't know about this list particularly, but you never know.
Could you see Cody Ford being on the block and then
it's possible.
And Van Rotten are the backups?
It's very possible because maybe a team will be more willing to give up a draft pick, a 4th or 5th for a former 2nd round pick. Maybe they see like the potential on him.
If he comes out and has good preseason, someone's like, right, oh, I could get something out of him.
Exactly. Rather than what can you get for, Van Rotten? You know what I mean? Maybe nothing. Maybe you cut him and go to practice squad, and then he gets picked up, right? So it's very possible. It's very possible. And Brandon Bean loves to do that. But like we said about Teller earlier, would he do that? Right? Is it too early? The problem with Teller was it was really, really early in the game.
It was year 2. Year 2. He started the end of year 1, played decent, came in year 2, lost the job to Mongo.
Right.
And then they traded him.
Right. And Cody Ford's on what year now?
4.
Right. So, and it's a contract year. So do you get something for him? Or do you see the potential and maybe you're going to think we could resign him? You know what I'm saying? Because it's tricky. That's where it's tricky. I don't know, man. I tell you what, I want to hate it, depending on what they get for him. What round?
Yeah.
I don't know what I would take.
I love Jason's comment. He comes in and says, spray paint them, put spinners on them, then trade them. Make them look shiny, then ship them off.
Why not? Put them right. Put them in all the second half games, like in the preseason.
And I agree with Daniel Garies. I think what we would get would probably be a 6th or 7th, most likely a 6th. I mean, if we can get a 6 for Mills,
right?
I have a feeling we can get a 6 for Cody Ford.
Exactly.
Yeah. Or Marshall Newhouse. I think we got a 6th one year.
We did.
Russell Bodine, we got a 6th one year. Like he's a magic man. He finally makes a way to.
Yeah, and a 6 isn't crazy. It's not unbelievable.
No, but it's a 6th round pick.
It is one you didn't have earlier. Something you could trade up to get. Use it as a trade. Yeah,
trade bait. So that covers our O line. When we look here, we'll probably have 9. I went through the 9 that I thought was going to make it. At the end of the day, this is probably the best O line that's been in front of Josh since he got drafted.
100%.
And then I love the fact that we have Aaron Cromer and Ken Dorsey in the room. Dorsey's super smart, young, innovative guy. And then Aaron Cromer is just a technician.